Welcome to the Clemson Dubcast. It is Wednesday, December 6th. We have spent much of this week learning more about Matt Luke and Chris Rumph, about the pursuits of those two from Dabo Swinney. And we've had lots of good stuff, but we got more coming, I promise you, because I've had some conversations earlier this morning and late last night. Sometimes the best stuff is the details. Once the news breaks, of course, the best stuff is retracing a lot of the details and backstory and history. And we're going to continue to do that at TigerIllustrated.com. We've had a bunch of people start subscribing over the last week or so. And if you already aren't, we still got room on the boat. So come aboard. My good friends Blake Smith and Brooke Archenhold have been part of the podcast since the beginning, way back in August of 2018. They have an accomplished team of personal injury attorneys at Parham, Smith, and Archenhold, based in Greenville. They are Clemson people, and their skillful attorneys have decades of experience in complicated litigation matters, taking a special interest in medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, and neglect, car accident cases that have left the individuals involved in serious trouble. For a free consultation at Parham, Smith, and Archenhold, call 864-990-4581 or online at parhamlaw.com. That's PARHAM law.com. Upstate Foodies. Want to take a moment to talk to you about our favorite taco spot, Willie Taco. 5 locations across the upstate. This award-winning team has been serving up fresh taco fusion for a solid decade now. The chefs at Willie Taco utilize the freshest, most creative, and sometimes unexpected ingredients in their kitchens. Come see why Southern Living, Garden and Gun, and Food and Wine Magazine are raving about Willie Taco and their signature offerings, such as their Southern Tide, crispy avocado, Nashville hot chicken tacos, literally flavors you will not find anywhere else, folks. And don't forget about the cocktails, super fresh margaritas, ice cold cerveza, and over 80 tequilas served up daily from behind the bar. So don't wait, folks. Your Willie Taco Familia is ready to serve you up their twist on funky, fresh fusion. It's the Willie way. Solero Communications, formerly known as Tandem Payment, is a full-service integrated electronic payments provider powered by leading-edge technology. Solero provides a wide array of merchant solutions, simplified payments. They make onboarding, taking payments, maintaining risk management and compliance, and getting support quick and easy. At Solero, they're all about helping you achieve sustainable growth as a business. Taking payments isn't the only thing your business needs. With Solero's solutions, you can manage inventory, sell products and services via social media, schedule staff, track sales, get reports, and much, much more. Find out more about Solero at solerocommerce.com. That's CELERO commerce.com. Okay, to the phone. Well, I guess not to the phone, but a recording of our phone conversation with Matt Connolly. Here we go. Enjoy. All right. Joined by my good friend Matt Connolly, who has a day off today. Is that correct?
That is right, yes. Very thankful for a day off, especially this time of year.
This is this new schedule you have is one of the I guess the transition from being just a total one-man shop when you covered Clemson on a daily basis for On 3 to now doing more of a office. I don't want to call it a desk job, but just a more regular, structured schedule. So Wednesdays and what's the other day you have off during the week?
Sunday.
And are you fully off on those days?
Yeah, I'm completely off. I mean, I don't open my laptop at all those days. You know, I'll occasionally check Twitter. Like the other day, my wife, I was watching something or reading something or whatever. And my wife was like, "What are you doing? You're off today." And I said, "Well, Aaron, the reason why I got into sports writing is because I love sports." I was like, "I'm still going to be a fan and keep up with things and kind of follow along or whatever." But yeah, I don't have to do any work or open my laptop or anything on those days, which is very nice and very different from when I was trying to, I guess, run a website kind of by myself or at least mostly by myself for 2 years or so. So, yeah, it's definitely different, and it's been a nice adjustment for me.
It's funny you mentioned you're like, hey, I like sports. That kind of reminds me of when I'm on the couch on a fall Saturday, and if Clemson is playing at, say, 8 o'clock that night, I'm still, it's just understood. Yeah, I'm watching football from noon to whenever I actually have to work. And so I sort of, I guess I use a very liberal interpretation of work with my wife. Like, hey, I've got to study up on Michigan in case Clemson plays them in a bowl game, maybe.
Yeah, you got to be ready. You got
Right.
to be ready for everything. You never know. Could play Ohio if it's a Tuesday night. Watch a little action. Never know what could happen down the line. Maybe they get a coach from there or something.
That's
one day,
exactly, yeah. Or maybe one of Michigan's coaches is in Death Valley, for a game trying to scout Clemson, and you have to and you have to be on guard for that.
Yeah, 100%. Got to be ready for everything.
I'm trying to to the average, I guess, Clemson person out there, fan, whatever. Our jobs are, yours and mine, meaning, are pretty much the same, because all they see is us writing about Clemson, commenting on Clemson, whether on message boards, Twitter, or whatever. But you mentioned it a minute ago, the one-man show. I mean, Paul Strelo did it years ago. I believe he was at the Clemson 24/7 site. It was just him. And that is a different galaxy from what I do every day, just because we have multiple people working for our site. Paul, of course, handles all the recruiting. Chris Ard, our publisher, is always on the message board, and he's the one who is the administrator, putting stories up. And like if something happens, say Jeremiah Trotter announces he's going pro, would be the most recent example. If I'm at lunch or washing my car, I don't have to drop everything and spend, I don't know, a half hour getting something up just because Jeremiah Trotter went pro.
Right.
Just to sort of enlighten people, that was your job when you were doing it all, and so you did have to be on call all the time. And if something like that did happen, like Trotter going pro, you did have to stop everything you were doing and get something up. Is that pretty much accurate?
Yeah, that's fair. So, I did have a couple of different recruiting guys that helped me. Joseph Hastings started off, who is now with our Alabama site, and then Jeremy Johnson, who's with our Georgia site now and does some regional stuff. So I did have some recruiting guys helping me too. But yeah, as far as the team stuff, everyday stuff, like I was trying to do a nice mix between reporting news and injury updates and any news I got or any news we heard from a press conference or whatever it was, with also trying to do in-depth pieces. Like I did film reviews every week. I did kind of in-depth type previews of the games and looked at matchups and prediction and some of that kind of stuff. So I was trying to do all of those pieces in addition to also doing all the newsy stuff and trying to get all of that stuff up too. So yeah, it was difficult to manage time. And then, I think another thing too is like I live in Duncan area.
Yeah.
So, I think I know you live in Clemson and kind of right by Clemson or whatever. It's probably maybe 10 minutes for you.
Yep.
Yeah, so about 10 minutes or so, whereas I was driving, an hour 10 to an hour and 15, depending on traffic, an hour 30 sometimes, trying to get to Greenville, then an hour and 30 back. So that's, that's three and a half hours of my day right there, just being in the car. Plus, Clemson isn't always punctual with their, I guess, start times for interviews and stuff. Especially, and I know that kind of went away here recently, but the Wednesday after practice ones or the, during fall camp practices or whatever, those would kind of start random time. So anyway, I was spending probably 4 hours of my day either in the car or kind of waiting on days where I was at Clemson. And that's a lot, especially having two young kids. And I didn't really realize it as much at the time, how much. And I always prioritize them and try to be around as much as I could. But, there were definitely times when Clemson's going to the playoff every year where I missed things, or my daughter was born like the same weekend as the South Carolina Clemson baseball series. So, we would have to plan parties around that. I remember my son's first Christmas I was in Arizona for. And so, my wife was very thrilled with that. But, and it was obviously a lot of fun, and those trips were awesome. And it was, super cool to get to experience all of that and to cover those games. But my daughter, like a couple weeks ago, was telling me how much she likes my job now. And she's like, you'll be here for my birthday parties and you'll be here at Christmas every year. And I'm just really looking forward to that. So that part of it, I shouldn't say I felt guilty, maybe a little bit guilty, but also I think just more so appreciative of, getting to spend more time with them now as they're getting a little bit older.
And previously you were at the State, and I think, was it pretty much similar to covering? I guess you didn't have to cover recruiting as much at the State, but still you're having to be on the ready whenever anything happens, just because the State's model, just like a lot of newspaper or any model out there now, is, hey, if Dabo says something, that's newsworthy, or if there's a big injury, then you got to get a story up. Was it the frequency of articles and the general sort of needing to be attentive and on call? Was it pretty much the same as it was when you moved over?
It was similar, although with On 3 there are certain number of articles that you needed to get done a month or a week or whatever, and needed to try to have something fresh on the site regularly, whether it's the middle of football season or if it's the middle of the summer. So it was a little different there. The State would say, hey, work on this project for a while, and don't worry about some of the day-to-day stuff. We can get someone else to grab that kind of stuff. So it was a little different, but similar for sure, in that if there was big news, and part of it too was me. I mean, when I was at the State, I was always trying to be competitive and get things up quickly, and kind of had that mindset to hurry up and try to get something up and get a story up, and try to do the best I could to get as many page views as possible, and try to help out our company and everything. So part of it too is just being competitive, and there were definitely times where Dwayne McLemore, my former boss, would say, hey man, take some time off. You've been grinding, and we can have somebody else grab something. But I was very much of the mindset that I wanted to get that up and try to do as good of work as possible and kind of be competitive with it.
Yeah, it didn't truly dawn on me just how much you were juggling and how different our jobs were. I think you were still with the State. Maybe you had already moved on, but you texted me and were like, hey, you want to go to Kite Hill and get a beer? I got some work to finish up. And like, yeah, sure. So I drive over there and meet you, and we're sitting there at a table, and you've not only got your computer up, but you not only have your phone sitting there looking at that, but you got your Apple Watch. And so it's like 3 different like screens, alerting systems, and you're checking your phone, I guess, every time you get a notification on Twitter, maybe. And I'm just like, wow, man, I don't know if I could live like that, but
yeah, thankfully. Wow. So over the summer, my Apple Watch took a swim in Lake Greenwood. And so thankfully, I did not replace that. I just decided maybe that was a sign that I had too many notifications and too much going on or whatever. So I left that in Lake Greenwood and didn't replace it. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely like just trying to be ready for everything, especially, during football season. And back then, I think I was with the State, and it was like, I think right around playoff time, and there's coaching searches going on, and there's just, I mean, as well as anyone, it just never stops, and there's always something going on. And even more so now with the portal and trying to, I guess, follow all of that action.
Is there is there any, what parts of covering Clemson, every day? I guess obviously that means being there and going to all their games and stuff. What part of, maybe I just gave the answer, what part do you miss?
Yeah, there are definitely times where you're like, oh man, this would, I guess really not as much this year though, to be quite honest. Just because like, I wasn't missing like, oh man, I I got to go watch Clemson play Wake Forest to a 17-12 ugly game or whatever, So if Clemson had a year like they did, where they were making the playoff every year and kind of going to those huge bowl games and stuff, I think I would miss it more. The cool thing about what On 3 let me do this year was, and they're going to keep letting me do, I believe, is I got to kind of pick the games I wanted to go to. So I went to the Florida State game. I went to the Notre Dame game. I considered going to some other ones. It's such a long day, though. Just, Dabo isn't the quickest coach to talk with the media after. So, sometimes for a 3:30 game, you're leaving the house at 10 a.m., 11 a.m. and getting home at, 1, 2 a.m. and kind of miss all the football all day and kind of miss some of that stuff. So I really didn't miss, I thought I would miss it a lot more than I did, to be honest. But I really didn't miss kind of the day-to-day stuff. And probably a lot of that was, I got to go to the Florida State game. I got to go to the Notre Dame game, two of the bigger games of the year, and still got to experience it some without having to do, I don't even remember who the FBS team was this year, or FCS team was this year, but without having to kind of go to some of those type of games. I guess it was Charleston Southern, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The only way I remember that is for the throwaway pick six.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. And the slow start where I think Dabo called timeout at the end of the first quarter and was kind of like, yeah, we don't really want to be losing to Charleston Southern at the end of the first, so we're gonna punch this one in the end zone real quick.
All right, so your normal responsibilities on Saturday, if you're home, when you actually go to a game like you did Notre Dame and Florida State, are your responsibilities different that day?
They're honestly pretty similar, at least with what I was doing at the state and running the Clemson side. Is like it's watching for news during the game, watching for I guess the biggest difference is I'm not on a message board now, so I'm not updating a message board and posting kind of thoughts and stuff, or maybe things you see on the sideline.
What I'm saying is like your normal responsibilities this fall when you were home on Saturdays, you're still working, right? When you're home, are you focusing on Clemson mainly, but and monitoring other?
Okay,
like
yeah,
I'm just trying to figure out what the typical.
Yes, I would be assigned a game, and usually if Clemson was playing, I had the Clemson game just because I knew that program, or I know that program well, know the players, and kind of know what to watch out for. Injuries, that kind of stuff. Monitor that. I know, if somebody goes down, who will come in or whatever. So yeah, I would have a different game each week to kind of monitor from home. And usually if Clemson was playing at the same time, I would have the Clemson game. So most weeks it was Clemson. I had the Ohio State Michigan game, which you're not covering it in person, but that's definitely one that you want to be able to have that assignment of, hey, you watch this and kind of follow along and get the interesting stuff. So, but yeah, they're different games. And so I would have different games each week.
Excuse me. So if you're watching Ohio State, Michigan, are the interesting things just injuries? If a coach mouths off, if a player mouths off to his coach, or just simply big plays? Like, I'm just curious what you're looking for.
It's mostly injury type stuff. If someone goes down, coach interviews at the end of the quarter, the half or whatever, where they're kind of saying, hey, this is what it's a lot of things that, I never really thought about until I started doing it. It was like, oh, people are actually interested in this stuff. Like, Dabo at halftime, I can't remember what game it was, but, kind of going off on the defense and saying, we played pre-defend defense right there. And that
Florida
was
State. Yeah.
Awful. Yeah. Stuff like that. Just kind of interesting things. And like I said, it's stuff that I didn't really think, I bet someone would like to be interested in that, but they are for sure. And it's definitely kind of some interesting things you pick up kind of through that.
So when on a random Monday night, when all hell breaks loose, when a guy from your town, by the way, named Tyler calls in and produces this total spectacle, is it on you to turn something around to try to get? I mean, I'm assuming you weren't listening. I think we might have texted during that, but is that on you to to jump on top of what quickly became a big story?
Not really. So it's funny, like, just because I was off at that time, so I didn't have to worry about it. But yeah, I had like, I think you had texted me, or maybe I had texted you even, but a couple of people had texted me and were like, "Oh my God, you got to turn this on. You got to listen to this." And that was another one of those times where my wife is like, "Why are you listening to this? Like, why are you listening to Dabo Swinney? You don't, it's a Monday night. Just watch football with me." But anyway, so yeah, I said, "Oh, okay, I got to listen to this." So I pulled it up about halfway through Dabo's answer. Because like I said, someone had texted me, was like, "Oh, somebody is going off on Dabo right now. Like, this is about to be good." And so, yeah, I let my manager know. I was like, "Hey, we might, this is probably going to be something that y'all are going to want to write about." I said, I don't have the full clip or whatever. I can try to find it, but I was like, this is probably going to blow up. And so, yeah, my job then, like I said, I didn't have to open the laptop or anything. My job then was just kind of giving them a heads up, like, this just happened. I'm sure the audio will make its way out there at some point, and just kind of be on the lookout, because it's definitely something that is probably going to be something we want to write. So yeah, I didn't have to actually write it, but I definitely was kind of trying to help out and let everyone know that was about to happen. I guess was happening.
Yeah. When you're like off the clock, like you were just saying, or you're in a social situation like a party or freight yard or something, do you ever get tired of talking football, talking about what you think about and write about however many hours a week?
Not really, man. To be honest, like, I don't know. I just like sitting around and talking about sports. That's like I said, why I got into it. I first started, I guess, back in college. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I was like, man, I love sports. Like, I love talking sports, love watching sports. I'm not going to go be a pro athlete, so I need to find something I can do that lets me, make a living enjoying sports. And so, yeah, I really don't mind. I think if you get, whether it be, at somewhere like Freight Yard, or, I guess even through text or whatever, sometimes I'll get people arguing with me about like basic rules, or, like, "Oh, that's BS. That's not holding. Come on." Like, people losing their mind about stuff that either isn't that big a deal, or, clearly looking at it not objectively or whatever. Maybe that part can get annoying sometimes, but yeah, for the most part, I enjoy talking sports and kind of sharing what I think and listening to other perspectives too.
I can't tell you how many times when I'm somewhere like a social situation and people apologize, like, "I'm sorry, I have to. I'm really sorry. I don't mean. I know you're off," and I'm like, dude, it's not like I'm a doctor.
Right.
Like I think about this stuff all the time too. It's a fun thing, so you don't have to apologize.
Yeah, we're not reliving like last night's surgery with a patient or anything. Like,
I'll say though, I'm asking you if you. I'm sure you get this. Like, if you're at a game, and let's say Antonio Williams goes down with what looks to be a sprained ankle, and you immediately have, like, or I guess over the next 20 minutes, you have 20 people text you, "Hey man, what's the word on Antonio Williams?" It's like,
yeah, when I know you, I promise I will post an update.
I have to turn my phone off during games. I started doing that years ago, because if I respond or even looked at every text that came my way, I would do a very poor job of following the actual game.
Yeah, the mute function with text messages, mute thread is very helpful during those situations for sure.
What do you make of the recent moves by Dabo? He's unpredictable. And I guess, not totally unpredictable, but I guess my point is, exactly a year ago, if you would have asked you or me or anybody, "Hey, do you think he's going to just be able to, make some tough decisions and get rid of Clemson alums and make sort of bold moves in an effort to get Clemson back. You probably would have said probably not. I think I probably would have said probably not. Am I right on that?
Yeah, I think so, but the caveat being that, like, that it's killing Dabo inside that they're not winning the way that they were. Did I think that he was going to fire Streeter? No. Did I think it was a possibility? Yeah. I definitely thought, it was at least going to be considered. But, I think if you have the 1 year where it's DJ, right, and it's, DJ's struggling or whatever, let's, I know, and Dabo didn't do it, but a lot of people were saying, once DJ gets out, everything will go back to normal. And so it didn't that first year where after he threw the pick six at Pitt is kind of the moment where I was like, this is kind of a disaster right now. And they ended up righting the ship, obviously, and won the Cheez-It Bowl and everything. But you kind of go into the next year thinking, okay, well, this will be the year that everything will get back on track, and DJ's had another year and blah, blah, blah. And then it just didn't again for, multiple reasons. And so I think, eventually Dabo knew that, like, he had to make some changes, that what he was doing wasn't working. And he gave guys an opportunity, gave people an opportunity probably that a lot of people wouldn't have gotten. Some of the coaches that have since been let go with his promotions or whatever. So, I think it's so hard to try to read his mind, but I think he felt like they could keep it going with what they had and kind of promoting and doing some of that kind of stuff and keeping it in-house. And he's kind of realized that it wasn't going to. So, was it a surprise? Yeah, but you also have a coach that's making as much as anyone in the country, that has won as much as anyone in the country, that has built a program up to be one of the best in the country. And I don't think he's too competitive and just doesn't have the persona to say, well, that's all right. We'll just keep going 7-5, 8-4, 9-3 around here. Like, I'm not overly surprised that just with his competitiveness and how much he wants to win and how much it means to him that he said, hey, I got to go make some changes and get us back on track.
I probably didn't frame that question the right way, because a year ago at this time, I think when people asked me, and even when I wrote about it, my take was something to the effect of, I don't think he's going to stand pat after some of the ugliness. The Notre Dame game was just horrific.
Yeah.
At Notre Dame last year. South Carolina, obviously, big problems. And so I think
even Tennessee, without their starting quarterback and top two receivers.
Well, I'm just saying this time, exactly a year ago. So this would have been before
I got you.
The orange. I guess the better way to frame it would be the overall perception among a lot of the fans was he's gotten too comfortable, set in his ways, and there's nobody who's going to make him, get rid of any of these sort of homegrown, inside the family coaches. So he's not going to do it. And so I think that's probably the more accurate thing, was that there was a perception among some of the fans that, just this cynical view of Dabo as doesn't want to win as much as he used to. And I think, honestly, that's what Tyler from Spartanburg was saying. He had just sort of gotten kind of complacent, which, the tenor of things inside the building that I've heard since after the NC State game, pretty blistering. Like, a lot of people, and this is before that phone call, but the radio show, by the way, but I think a lot of people thought they were losing their jobs after that. And so ultimately he has shown, and I think demonstrated most recently and last year with firing Streeter after just 1 year as OC, that yes, he's about culture. Yes, he's about love. Yeah, he's about family and all that, all those things that he often talks about genuinely. But ultimately, the dude freaking hates winning, and he's a cutthroat competitor. That's it.
Yeah, hates losing.
What's that?
Or you said hates winning, I think, right?
Oh, did I say hates winning?
Hates
I'm sorry.
losing. Yeah. No, I know what you meant. No, I'm with you. And you know, I also want to give, I think Graham deserves some credit too, just because, you know, he didn't go out and hire, you know, the up and coming guy who you're hoping is going to be able to produce at FBS level. I mean, Garrett Riley last year, Matt Luke and Chris Rumph this year. I mean, he went out and hired some of the best coaches that you can get, and they paid for them. You know, I mean, they're heavily investing in that program, and so, you know, I think, and I even got friends who are like, man, we go 8-4, and now we're spending all this money on football again, and but you know, the other side of that is you have to invest and you have to go get the best coaches you can get if you want to win. And so I think the administration, not just Graham, but really that whole administration deserves credit for going out and saying, hey, you know, you go find who you want. We'll pay what you want and we'll get this taken care of. And yeah, I mean, they have an excellent staff, and probably a staff that, you know, I would guess is right up there as you know, as well paid as about anyone in the country.
Yeah. And I wrote about this earlier this week, as you talk about Dabo swinging for the fences, going outside the program, getting two really reputable guys. You talk about the commitment of the administration in sort of doubling down on their commitment financially, paying both of these guys, I guess, around $1 million. It's crazy.
Yeah.
The elephant in the room is the long term, and that is Clemson. I mean, this is not a secret. They are exploring the feasibility or likelihood or, you know, the route to getting the heck out of the ACC. And that's
right.
that's just a fact. They are. And you have to be thinking down the road. And so, I mean, even Dabo has said publicly, hey, there's going to be a split and it's just going to be a mega conferences and the have-nots are going to fall off and the people committed to big boy football are going to get together. And so if that's the case, then yeah, doubling down on a staff and swinging for the fences and thinking big and spending big, I think there's a not ulterior motive, but I think that's in the back of everybody's mind as they make these decisions as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it just, you know, you have to position yourself for the future and you know, how sustainable it is to keep competing when you're making so much less than the SEC and Big Ten, I think is debatable. I mean, Clemson's still right now spending, you know, as much as anyone. But yeah, you know, how sustainable is that long term? You know, I think kind of remains to be seen. You know, I think Clemson is very attractive. You know, even right now when you're winning 10 games the past 2 years and going 8-4 this year, I mean, it's still huge fan base, you know, great environment, sold out crowds, great fan support. They travel. I mean, they do everything that you would want from a football team and have to be, you know, someone that or a school that conferences would like to add. But certainly it doesn't help if you can get back to making the playoff and compete for national titles. You know, I think that I guess the worry is the further away you get from that, potentially maybe the harder it is to get back, just because then you start having recruits coming up who have seen Clemson, you know, go 9-3 and 9-3 and 8-4 or whatever, as opposed to compete with Alabama and Georgia. So certainly you want to try to get back to the lead as soon as possible and kind of try to right the ship, you know, as soon as possible for several reasons.
It's so kind of wild as we try to evaluate what we've seen, I guess, most recently this season, because in some ways you're like, oh my God, the quarterback play looks nothing like what we're used to, you know, when Clemson's been elite. Oh my God, same thing at receiver. Same thing at running back, really, and, you know. But then you look at them in other ways, and it's like, well, they're really maybe not as far away as I thought, because you see all those freshmen, T.J. Parker, Peter Woods, Khalil Barnes, Tyler Brown, and And then I think you said you listened to the Ellis Johnson interview a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that stood out to me about some of the things he said, and this guy is he looks at things clinically, even though his son is a walk-on for Clemson. He shoots straight, but when he said, Larry, Clemson has been better than every team. Clemson is better than every team they've played this year.
Yeah.
And so if Clemson, when they're down, is still arguably better than even Florida State. I mean, honestly, like they played them toe to toe. And if you were in outer space for the last couple of years and you didn't have any familiarity of the two teams and you sat down and watched that game, I don't think you walk away going, oh, Clemson was lucky to even have a chance in that one. I think you walk away going, wow, how did Clemson give that game away?
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, I agree with you. And definitely defensively. I mean, I think that defense this year was as good as anyone in the country. I mean, there were times where they just completely swallowed teams up, and you kind of saw kind of the way it used to be. There were games when Venables was there where the other team, you could just tell, like, first series, oh, this team is done. Like, they're going to have trouble getting a first down today. And so you saw some of that this year with the defense, particularly the second half of the year. I still just want to see it from the offense, though. Like, it's just been so inconsistent now, really, for 3 years, to where whether it be offensive line play, receiver play, quarterback play, like I'm kind of in see it mode before I'm ready to say, hey, this is a team that can go win a national title. I think even going into this year, like I remember I did an interview preseason with a radio station out in Texas, and they had Clemson like number 6, I think, going into the season or something like that, and asked if I thought that was fair and if I thought that they could compete for a playoff. And I said, man, I'm really not sure. Like, I need to see more from Cade. I need to see more from the receivers. And so I'm kind of still in that mode, to be honest, of like, I need to see more from the offense. And I certainly see the other side of them. I mean, I've got friends that have said, watch and see when Cade's a senior, we're going to win a national title. And I certainly can see that if he continues to develop and if Matt Luke comes in and does things that Clemson's hoping he will on the offensive line. But I'm still kind of in wait and see mode a little bit just on that side of the ball. Now, defensively, I think they can compete with everybody and be in every game and have a chance to win every game. But I just need to see it before I'm ready to say this is a team that can win a national title here in the next year or two.
Do you think it's fair to say they should, given some of Cade's inconsistencies and flakiness, probably not the word, but just undependable nature when during critical situations and you tell him don't do this thing and then he does that thing decision wise, do you think it's fair to say they should try their best to go find a QB, a potential QB1, a QB1 worthy guy in the portal, not to say, oh, okay, he's not any good, but saying, hey, we don't owe Cade a starting job. We owe Clemson the best quarterback play we can get. And so you have a competition. Is that what you would be leaning toward as you sort of look at this from afar?
That's such a loaded question. You could have a Kyle McCord situation where, Cade hears, oh, we're bringing in somebody else, and we don't know that you're the guy or whatever. And he very well could say, hey, well, I've proven myself. I won 4 games to end the year. We went 4-0. I was hitting my stride coming down the stretch, and now you're getting rid of me. I'll go somewhere else where I'm appreciated and could be the guy. Is that going to happen? I don't know, but it certainly can happen. I mean, we've seen it all over college football. So that's a tough question to answer, just because, I think in an ideal world, you would love to have some competition, and instead of bringing in, Paul Tyson or Hunter Johnson, bring in a legit quarterback, maybe even the way Alabama did this year, where you go and get someone like Tyler Buckner future lacrosse star Tyler Buckner now, but a guy that's kind of a borderline starter, and you say, hey, he's coming in to be the clipboard guy and get ready to start coaching. He's coming in to compete for the job. And so, you have to go earn it on the field. Maybe you have a situation like that. I think it would be hard for Clemson to go out and get someone like a Dylan Gabriel or one of those top quarterback options in the portal. But I certainly could understand the mindset of, hey, we need to get Cade some competition in here and see if we can make him have to earn it a little more, and maybe that pushes him a little bit and he starts playing a little bit better.
I am not intimately familiar with the most recent developments at Ohio State, but are they getting a portal guy?
They probably are. It sounds like Kyle McCord was, and this is from what I've read, but it sounds like Kyle McCord was kind of told, hey, you're not for sure going to be the starting guy, and we're going to explore and kind of look at our options, and but you're not going to be the starting guy going into next year, like for sure. Like you're going to have to go compete and whatever. And he kind of felt disrespected, I guess, maybe by that. And again, that's just reports that I'm reading, but kind of seems that may be what happened. Is like they told him he's going to have to try to find that he's going to have to compete for the job, and he kind of felt like, we just had a really good year and we're 6 points away from being in the playoff, and now I'm not even the starting quarterback next year. So I don't know. It's just such a tricky time of college football. Like I think it's harder, and Dabo kind of predicted a lot of this, but I really do think it's harder than ever to manage a roster, and there's just so much turnover. I mean, I think there's over 1,200 players already in the portal, which is just, crazy, basically a day in.
And just to emphasize, I mean, I think when we're talking about McCord and Klubnik, like I think Klubnik's got significantly more sort of upside than McCord, just because of his running ability. And I don't know, he just seems like to have more. Klubnik seems more dynamic than me. Yeah. Like if you had best case scenario for both quarterbacks over the rest of their career. So anyway,
and I think McCord was maybe a little more consistent this year, but he was also throwing to Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right.
and Mek Egbuka and some of those guys, which certainly helps.
To your thoughts,
what's kind of?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, what's kind of your thoughts on?
I'm of the belief it's always when I'm not a roster management expert.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of the peanut gallery and not shooting from the hip, but it's easy for me to say it. But my first impulse is going the route of you owe your program or program, whichever you prefer. you owe your organization the best quarterback you can get, and but I certainly am not coming anywhere close to acting like I have a better perspective on it than the head coach, who was juggling a lot.
Yeah, and some of his comments after the game about, I kept saying, no, we don't need to throw it, and it just kind of screamed like we don't have a lot of trust right now in our quarterback and in our passing game, and some of that's understandable when, like you said earlier, I mean, there were so many times this year where he was told to do one thing and did the opposite. And so, yeah, it's a tough situation for sure. Like I see both sides of it. But yeah, it's certainly a decision they're going to have to make.
Sometimes with Dabo, you have to sort of read body language and go on context clues. Like,
right.
While in one respect, he's like, oh, Cade's going to be great. He's going to be a great quarterback before it's all said and done. On another, I mean, just the body language of Dabo and some of his mannerisms, like he was exasperated at times over Cade this year. And then you look at the decisions and also the things he said, like you just said, like I said no more over the headsets than I ever have. I mean, so much of the play calling and the general offensive management this year was predicated on, all right, let's not screw this up.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of the calculation you have to make moving forward is can we, if you're in the shoes of the coaches, can we really depend on Cade going on the trajectory we think he's capable of. How much of a gamble is that? And then you got to make your decisions accordingly, which is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, and I think I saw on Twitter or something. Like I didn't watch the press conference after the game, but I saw a quote either after the game or sometime around then where he was asked about trying to punch one in at the end or whatever, and he was like, "Man, I was just trying to get out of there. Like, for all I know, we'll fumble it and they'll run it back, and now we're having to cover an onside kick or something." You know, it's just like, and that's, you know, I think in early in the season, it was like, oh, this is fluke stuff, and some of it was fluky for sure. But I think as the season went along, even Dabo was like, man, this is just kind of what we are, and we just gotta get out of here with a win and not screw it up. Like I thought his comments probably after the NC State game, the way he kind of talked about things, and that was, you could tell just how frustrated he was, which obviously coincided too with when you said is kind of when he started going off on everyone behind scenes and stuff. So yeah, I think that kind of makes sense. That was kind of the game where he was like, man, we just got to find a way to win some games.
When you're ready for a complete renovation in your home or business, open the door to more with Harris Home and Harris Commercial. Their local experienced team will totally transform any room space, from beautiful floor coverings to construction to finished details. Harris handles every step of your renovation process, whether it's a kitchen or living room or an industrial or educational setting, like some of the positively stunning work they've done at Clemson University. Go to discoverharris.com and experience a total renovation transformation from Harris Home and Harris Commercial. Want to share a quick word about Founders Federal Credit Union? If you've been to a sporting event in Clemson, you've probably heard about Founders already. They are the official credit union partner of the Clemson Tigers. In addition to that, all Clemson faculty, staff, and students are eligible for membership, as well as IPTAY members. Its office is located beside the Walmart Neighborhood Market on Old Greenville Highway in Clemson. For more information, go to foundersfcu.com. Another loyal supporter of the Dubcast is Blackacre Law Firm in Greenville, a subsidiary of Parham Smith and Archenhold. Blackacre helps South Carolina residents achieve their dreams of home ownership by providing experienced professional representation for real estate closings. Attention to detail is crucial in real estate law. Blackacre is committed to making sure nothing gets by them preparing residential or commercial closings. Blackacre also offers estate planning services for their clients in the Greenville area. Find out more about Blackacre at 864-326-3507. You alluded to this with how many people are already in the portal, and I think even the reality of college football is even hitting Clemson right now. You know, they were able to sort of fend it off for a couple of years, but I think now reality is dawning because you have quite a few players, I believe, who have been pursued by other schools, and they're saying, hey, I need a better deal, and that's where they are. And that's it has to be tough for Dabo to hear, yeah, coach, I need more money, you know. On the other hand, I mean, like if you have a car, you know, if you're middle class, middle upper class, even rich, and you have a car you're trying to sell, it's not like you say, oh, I'll just knock off 30% of this value because I can afford it, you know. Right. You want what that car is valued at. And so you can see that side of it from the player's perspective, who in most cases are in their prime earning years, their only earning window football-wise of their lives, because most of them aren't going pro. It is such a tumultuous time, and I know
it's crazy.
It's, you know, there's one side of it that's like, oh yeah, they should get everything that they want, and if you have coaches are allowed to leave their jobs and make $11 million, then players should get everything too. And then on the other side, you have this is just a total mess, and I'm not even going to watch anymore. And you know, it's just not like it used to be. And I can see both sides. I don't know if I'm in the middle. I just know I'm confused, and I don't know where in the hell things are headed.
It's funny because, like, you know, there's so many people that are like, oh, I'm done with this. I'm not watching this anymore. College football's ruined or whatever. But man, the numbers this year were as good as they've been in forever, if not better. So, you know, I think I understand the frustration, and there are parts of it that frustrate me too. I mean, even like I'm a Purdue fan, and Purdue's best receiver went in the portal, and I'm like, man, what in the world? Come on, like I certainly get that aspect of it too. But at the same time, it's the system that we have, and it's not the players that said, hey, I'm demanding XYZ money. Now certainly there were conversations had, and I don't even think, like, I didn't hear anyone when we were interviewing players talking about NIL when all this was first started happening. I didn't hear anyone kind of talking about, I think it'd be great because I can go play for a school for a year and transfer and then get $200,000 to go to another school or whatever. Like that wasn't, I don't think, what players even wanted in almost every instance. But when that's the system that was created, and that's the system that we have now, and players have that opportunity. Like you said, it's kind of, it's hard to blame them. I mean, if I had a son who was playing college football somewhere at a small school and was not getting any NIL money, and someone contacted me and said, hey, how would your son like to come play at wherever, Georgia, and we'll pay him $800,000 and he can play at Georgia instead of playing at Presbyterian or whatever. Like, yeah, I think when you kind of look at it in that instance, and even in other instances where you're going from Clemson, I know Makuba just went in the portal, even him, understanding, wanting to change the scenery and stuff, too. I kind of understand that too. So it's a tough time. It's a crazy time to try to keep up with and following and everything else. But I don't really blame the players for what's happened. I think it's just a system that kind of was created, and some of them are taking advantage of it, and it's not. I'm not going to be the one to say, hey, this is a system we have, and y'all shouldn't be doing that. So, yeah, I'm more on the player side, but I certainly get the frustrations too.
I mean, I don't recall over the last 10, 15 years, whatever, as these revenues have just gone crazy with what the coaches are making and what administrators are making and all that from all the television stuff. I don't recall. I mean, you never hear, when Will Muschamp gets a fully guaranteed $15 million buyout, right, you don't hear, oh, there needs to be guardrails on this.
No, it's more if he's the luckiest guy in the world.
Yeah, or I'm not $15 million. I'm just not going to be able to watch this much longer. Yeah. I'll go do something else. I mean, you don't even hear. I mean, Matt Luke and Chris Rumph are making a combined $2 million, which is way more than Lemansky Hall and Thomas Austin were making, and you don't hear any. Well, no, I don't want to say any.
Not much.
But you don't hear people saying this is just obscene. There needs to be some sort of regulation on this, or Congress needs to step in. And that's a ton of money compared to, if a player wants, $20,000 more or something. I don't know. I have no idea what it is. And I'm not taking one side over the other. But as I'm trying to figure it all out, those are some of the sort of inconsistencies that kind of make me wonder, like, what are we,
yeah.
what are we doing here?
Yeah, I think ultimately my stance is like, you can be frustrated with some of it and not like everything that's going on, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to turn on the TV or go to a game or whatever it is, and whatever my roster looks like, or whoever's on the team, whoever's coaching, whatever, I'm still going to go support that team and watch it and watch other games too, and just kind of accept the fact that that's kind of what it is, and it's way different. You look at other aspects. I mean, we're losing rivalries. Oregon State's going away. Oklahoma State. We're losing some of these games too, and it's it's not great. It's not what kind of we grew up accustomed to and everything, but it's just kind of the world it is right now, and so just enjoy it and go along for the ride, and complaining about it or whatever else isn't going to fix anything. I mean, my opinion would be just to enjoy it and still go support your team on Saturdays.
I think that maybe a good sort of I mean, my position is, and I tell fans this, I guess, on a failure, friends of mine who are fans, whether it be Clemson fans or South Carolina fans, who are complaining about this is just not the same. And I guess when, if they lose, last year, Marshawn Lloyd and Jaheim Bell and others at the portal, it's like, I don't know. I don't know how much longer I could do this. But then, then they get Spencer Rattler and Juice Wells back for last. Oh man, heck yeah, let's go. And so even the last couple of weeks, if you put yourself in the shoes of a South Carolina fan, it's like you get your rear ends handed to you by Clemson, and so it's a downer, and then another downer. Juice Wells said he was coming back. He just didn't say where he was going.
Where he's going. Yeah.
And it's like, I'm through with this. And then I just saw somebody sent me this morning. I don't even know if it's true, but there was a tweet about, hey, Shane Beamer just met with 30 boosters or something, and this is going to be big time. And basically saying that he was able to drum up a ton of money to both keep and attract talent. And so then it's like, all right. And so
we're back.
It's all still dependent on hope,
Yeah.
And that was the case 20 years ago. If you lose a stud recruit, it's like deflation, but then it's like, okay, well, let's go get the next one,
Yeah.
And so it's still all just sort of fueled by hope, I would think.
Yeah. And it's a lot of up and downs. I mean, that's why I think you just kind of have to go for the ride and look at the end and say, all right, this is what we have when the season starts. And this is what, this is what's good about our roster, and this is what gives us a chance. With Clemson this year was obviously going into the season, that defense was going to be great, and now you've got Garrett Riley, and the offense is going to be clicking under him, and so yeah, kind of the same thing. And I'm interested to see what Clemson does portal wise. Like not to change the subject, but I'm just interested to see kind of how they do portal wise, and if they're able to attract some of these guys. I think the hard thing is you have to take care of your current guys, and then also it's just the way the portal is now. Like those guys want money too, and so that part of it's going to be interesting to kind of follow and see, and like Dabo has said, I mean, we're open to the portal. We try to recruit guys, we just didn't get them. So obviously, I think they'll be more aggressive this year, but I'm interested to kind of see how that unfolds too.
3 days have passed since the committee's bombshell decision to exclude Florida State in favor of Alabama. What's your opinion on their decision? And then you have been much more attuned to the social media reaction than I have over the last 3 days. But I know just based on little snippets that I've seen, I can't remember a more violent sort of reaction, and just people are unhinged over it. And honestly, I don't really get it. I don't understand it, because I think that it really maybe I'm naive, but I think it genuinely came down to Florida State had 120 minutes of football, two full games after Jordan Travis went down, and their offense just looked, the quarterback position just looked inept.
Yeah, I have so many mixed thoughts on this, just because on one hand, you talk about Keon Coleman and Jared Verse and Johnny Wilson and Trey Benson, all these guys from Florida State that start training in January last year and say, hey, we've got to go out and we can have the kind of season we have, and we really think we can win a national title. And that going into the year was a talk, like Florida State's going to get back to the playoff. They have a chance to win a title. And so you go all those off-season trainings and workouts and all that kind of stuff, and you get to the point where you start playing games and you overcome Clemson and you blow out LSU, and you do all these things, go through, win every game you can. Jordan Travis goes down. You go into Florida, which obviously Florida wasn't anywhere near a great team this year, but you go to Florida with your backup quarterback, win that game. Not necessarily convincingly, but pull away a little bit in the second half and win. I don't think it was like a down to the last play type of game or anything. So you win that one. go to the ACC championship game and play a Louisville team that is in the conference championship game. I know they had just lost to Kentucky, but they won 10 games. That had a really good year, won at Miami. And you win that game and you completely shut down their offense and really hold them down. So, I mean, in some ways, like, I just feel awful for Florida State and feel like it's not fair to those guys, to the other 84 scholarship players on that team, that, you know, they don't get a chance to go out there and try to show on the field what they can do and find a way to win. On the other side of it, obviously, and kind of what you alluded to, is they just didn't look very good without their starting quarterback on offense. And so do you want another repeat of last year where you get to like a TCU Georgia type game where you just have a team that is just completely outmatched, which is what I think a lot of people think Florida State would have been without Jordan Travis. And so I see that part of it too. You know, I don't go into the conspiracy theory of, oh, ESPN did this for money and whatever. I mean, I don't believe there's any of that. You know, I think it's more so of just Florida State really struggled without its quarterback. And so despite the fact that they were 13-0 and beat everybody they played, that they get left out. But man, I do have mixed emotions. I think more so even than you, and that I don't know. It's just hard to tell a team, hey, you beat everybody that you played this year, and even won your ACC championship game by double digits with your third string quarterback. You know, the second string quarterback would be back for the playoff, and you still don't get a chance when you did everything you did or everything you could. So it's just, I don't know. It's just a hard discussion, hard choice they had to make, but wasn't surprised at all that they ended up going with Alabama.
I mean, I think you can both feel awful for Florida State, which I certainly do, and also say the committee made the right call. I mean, I think I shared this with you a few days ago, but in the last two games, the backup quarterbacks, Florida State's, combined to complete 42% of their passes, Matt.
Yeah.
3.9 yards an attempt. That's, I mean,
yeah, it's bad.
For the season, the worst yards per. I mean, we thought Clemson's yards per attempt were bad at like 6.5 or something. The worst in college football this year is Iowa. At 5 yards an attempt. Florida State had a full yard shy of that in two games.
Yeah.
And the worst completion percentage in the country this season is Rutgers at 48.4. And yeah, 2 games, maybe small sample size, but that's a pretty big sample size in my opinion. I sat there and watched the Florida State-Florida game, and in the first half, quarterback play was one of the main reasons they almost got run out of the swamp by a average Florida team.
And the only pushback I would have is, you know, you weren't expecting Jordan Travis to get out, and so now you're trying to be out. So now you have a week to try to prepare, sure. And you're trying to, you know, throw together a plan with a quarterback that you're trying to figure out, all right, what are his strengths? They're trying to work on timing with receivers. He hasn't thrown too much all year. And then you get ready for the next game. And, you know, now Tate Rodemaker's out, and you don't know if he can play kind of going up to it, and he's in protocol. And so I don't think they had a ton of reps and stuff. Now, how much better does that get in a month? And especially going against Michigan's defense, probably not a lot better. But I do wonder if part of Florida State's mindset was like, we've just got to kind of like Dabo against South Carolina. I mean, I think it was kind of just like Dabo against South Carolina, where it's like, we just got to get out of here and try to find a way to win. And so, you know, they had a lead for most of the second half, and I think we're just kind of hoping that would be enough to get them in. But yeah, I definitely understand it. You know, I don't necessarily think the committee made the wrong choice, and I honestly probably would have done the same thing. But I do think it's at least a debate and something certainly you can talk about. And we had, you know, I went and watched the SEC championship game with some buddies, and it got heated. I mean, not with me, but just going back and forth. Like, you know, there was Clemson guys and South Carolina guys watching about whether Florida State should be in or not or whatever. And so yeah, that part of it was interesting too, where it was like, you know, the SEC, South Carolina guys like, man, Alabama's got to get in. And the Clemson guy was like, man, are you kidding me? You got to put Florida State in. You know, it was just, they're like, Matt, what do you think? And I was like,
I've got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go get another beer.
I that's a perfect segue to what I was going to bring up next. The one thing that truly has bothered me about the fallout, the incredible fallout from this, is it seems like every reaction to it is just like you just said. And even on the part of a lot of media members are like pissed, or not pissed. And you're like, yeah, nothing to see here. That quarterback got hurt. Oh, great decision, whatever. Yeah. But I was like, even David Hale, who I love, he is 500 times smarter than I am. Just a brilliant guy. Should be a screenwriter for a sitcom, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He was like livid. And his what he wrote the next day was like dripping with just contempt. And I think it's because he doesn't like the SEC. And some of his arguments weren't logical, in my opinion, respectfully. And you see some of the FSU writers, and I don't know, I guess if it happened to Clemson, the same exact thing, maybe I would view it differently, but part of me wonders if I might need a security detail. If my conclusion was, like Cole Stout or whoever, just ain't any good or what, they made the right decision. People would want to kill me if I said that, but
I think it's just a situation that there are legitimate arguments that you can make for both sides.
Yeah.
And so if you are invested one way or the other, like you're just going to dig in to that side. Whereas I'm kind of, in the middle where, I can see both sides. I think they probably got it right. But, if you covered Florida State all year or played at Florida State or whatever, or the other way, if you were, with Alabama and played for Alabama or SEC Network or whatever, I think it really just kind of, if you are truly invested one way or the other, it really bothered you. And you kind of let your emotions go, or if you truly were kind of neutral and didn't really care one way or the other, you could kind of see both sides of it and have a much more open and respectful conversation. There was even, I think it was Terrion Arnold went on Feinbaum earlier this week and was like, man, I feel awful for Florida State. Like if that was me, I would be so mad if I was on that team. And he said he had talked to Jordan Travis and Keon Coleman and just felt awful for them. That's someone who plays for Alabama. So I do think there are certainly some people that can see both sides of it, and probably even more so players who have been there and experienced and kind of appreciate what it takes to go undefeated and everything you have to overcome and everything. But I thought that was really interesting, just his comments about how bad he felt for Florida State, even being someone who plays for Alabama. It's a very good player for them. Even
Dane Young, who really talented writer and media personality over at Athens, works for the Georgia Rivals site. He posted yesterday, he retweeted CBS's blockbuster ratings for the SEC championship. And he said, "This is why Alabama was in over FSU. The rest is just conjecture to attempt to justify it." And I'm like, so
yeah.
Like, I'm like, okay, here's your conjecture. Anything contrary to your conjecture is just conjecture. But it's like, I'm not saying I don't like the way he reacted. I perfectly like Dane Young. I'm just saying the unnerving part for me was seeing a lot of media members who are, I guess, supposed to be even-handed, fair-minded, and unemotional, becoming really emotional and attaching themselves to whatever position, extreme or position in response to this controversy.
Yeah, and I think Kirk Herbstreit put it really well right after, where he was like, it sucks, absolutely hate it for Florida State, but the committee made the right choice. And when you look at the criteria and it says, if you lose key players that could affect the way you play, that gets factored in, that it's hard to put Florida State in based on what we saw. It wasn't like a few years ago where Ohio State's third string quarterback won the Big Ten by 60 points or whatever. Like, it was an ugly offensive performance. So, I certainly understand both sides of it, but I think they probably ultimately got it right.
I'll say this, Matt, full disclosure, I said for years, 4 teams is right. 4 teams does the job almost every single time, and people just kind of want something new and different and got spoiled. I think what we saw on Sunday is a pretty good. It's like, yeah, we probably do need to expand the playoff, honestly, because man, you just can't really. It's just having 5 deserving teams. You only got 4 seats, so it sucks.
And even, I mean, I'm excited for that. I mean, more college football, the better for me. But man, I can't wait for the playoff. Just when you're talking about semifinal matchups, I mean, even Georgia, Ohio State, like they can make an argument too. You know, Georgia winning back-to-back national titles and 29 straight games, and they barely lose in the SEC championship game after what they did to Ole Miss and Tennessee and other teams this year, or Ohio State, you know, losing on the road barely to Michigan, that's pretty undisputed number 1. So, yeah, I'm excited about the playoff expanding, and you know, those first round games you got. I know going in it would have been like Texas, at Penn State, and Georgia, and there's just going to be some great matchups leading up even into the semifinals next year. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about the playoff.
Agreed. Well, Matt, I don't want your wife coming home on your day off saying, what in the world are you doing talking about sports on your day off? So I will go ahead and let you go so you don't have to get into that predicament.
That sounds good. Yes, we'll probably ask why the laundry's not done or the dishes or something. But yeah, man, I enjoy talking with you as always. Wow.
Matt has to do laundry. Hope my wife's not listening to that. Although I am a prolific dishwasher. Just full disclosure. Appreciate the support of our sponsors, as always, for helping make this happen. And, of course, thanks to all of you for taking the time to listen. Really appreciate it. Cheers.